Welcome back, everyone, and thank you for staying with us for the Creative Clinic panel discussion. We've got a jam-packed hour for you where we'll be talking more in depth on personal branding and wellness for creatives. As mentioned before, make sure you have fun. We're all about the good vibes here, and you also have the opportunity to ask our panel guests some questions. Please show us your beautiful faces as we'd love for you to engage with our guest speakers today. But yes, before the break, we obviously got to see Henrie's Is the Era Changing?
Yeah.
I hope everyone enjoyed it. But yeah, tell us more.
So that was the first one that I'd ever filmed, and I didn't have a plan for it at all. The most chaotic person I think I know. I genuinely just went out with a cameraman and another friend, day and night, just to see what we can pick up. And I did that 3 times before going into the editing suite and editing it down. And I knew what I was kind of like going for, but I didn't know the kind of story I was creating until I started editing it. So Brixton was the first one, and my wig gets better as the shows go along. So yeah, we're moving up.
Yes, thank you very much. For those who just joined us before the break, Henrie enlightened us on everything we need to know about personal branding, and also gave us her tips on presenting. Henrie has worked with some of the biggest brands such as Spotify, Nando's, Nike, Puma, and Kiss FM. Henrie also has, obviously, the online series. So everybody after this, make sure you check it out. Check out all the episodes. Yes, thank you again, Henrie, for joining us.
Thank you.
Also joining tonight via Zoom, we have broadcast journalist Hugh Woozencroft. Hugh is the host of TalkSport Kickoff Show, the Times the Game podcast, and is board member of the Black Collective of Media in Sport. Thank you for joining us today, Hugh. I see you.
Hello, hi. Sorry, I didn't realise you wanted me to speak. Sorry. Hi, how are you doing?
Yeah, good. How are you?
Yeah, good.
Good. And in the studio, we're also joined by social media sensation Unkle Kwamz. Unkle Kwamz is a dancer, comedian, and online personality with over 20,000 followers on Instagram and over 100 posts that include hilarious sketches, dance routines, and comedic observations. Hi, how are you?
Hi. This pic is I've grown a lot as a person.
Exactly.
Yo,
Yeah.
another funny man in the room. I like it.
Amazing. Thank you all. Let's get started. Let's start with your personal journey, Hugh. You've had quite an extensive career and worked for some of the biggest names in broadcast media, including the BBC, Sky Sports, and Talk Sports. And you also sit on the board for the Black Collective of Media and Sport, which actively works to develop opportunities for BAME people within the sports media industry. Hugh, for those who are not aware, could you give us an insight into broadcast journalists? So what is a broadcast journalist and how you got started?
Okay, long journey. I mean, it's hard to even describe what I do now as a broadcast journalist, but I guess, it is. I'm a broadcaster. I do television and radio. I started just over 10 years ago. I came out of uni, as you can see there, got a degree in sports journalism. When I came out of uni, it was like the height of the recession in 2008. So long time ago. And a lot of people found it difficult to get jobs. I did as well. At that point in time, I wasn't really looking to become a journalist at all. But so many people couldn't find jobs. I ended up working in Harrods after I finished my uni degree. And I decided to go back to uni and study again. And it was a choice really between, I wanted to study like counter-terrorism, which was obviously big at the time, or sports journalism, because I'd always loved sport. I felt like I knew a lot about it. And in the end, I decided to go and learn sports journalism instead. And I thought I'd be successful doing it really. And that opened a lot of doors. Funnily enough, I just ended up working, long story short, for the BBC. By the time that I finished my master's degree in sports journalism, I met someone who got me in for some work experience, and it just went from there really. And before I knew it, I was on my way to Salford up near Manchester, as BBC Sport moved up north. So I was offered a job to move. And I was in my early 20s, decided to go, and that was it really, changed things for me. I ended up becoming a producer, making radio documentaries for Radio 5 Live. sports ones, obviously. I then moved to sports news at the BBC on Radio 5 Live, was given a job as a broadcaster on 5 Live Radio, then ended up on BBC News for TV, and yeah, all went from there. Ended up leaving to get my own show at TalkSport back on the radio. So yeah, I've done quite a few things, and it's been a long journey. But essentially, a broadcast journalist is broadcasting is your medium. So if you are someone who is in print journalism, it's going to be newspapers. If you're a digital journalist, you're going to be doing online websites, etc. I'm a broadcast journalist. It means my skill is talking rather than writing. Primarily, that's my job. So yeah, so that's a broadcast journalist, basically.
Amazing. Thank you, Hugh. And over to you, Unkle Kwamz. Great to have you in the studio. Your online comedy sketches on Instagram went viral pretty much overnight, even had viewers across the globe and in Australia imitating your sketches, gaining you over 20,000 followers and million of views. Can you tell us a bit more about how you got started, and was you always destined to be a comedic sensation?
Wow, that was a big sentence at the end. that was a big English, but I would say it actually, the way I am on camera is how I am with my friends. But it was just one day, finished the like last exam. This was like during lockdown. Kind of celebrating with my flatmates. Like, exams are over. We can enjoy summer now because lockdown is only going to be 3 weeks. Lockdown is only going to be 3 weeks. Let's not get into that. But and I was celebrating in the corridor, and I've been watching this guy Just Too Funny. He does like a Don't Leave Me sketch, but no one had ever like recreated it before. And I'd always said that I could do something dumb like that. So I just like spur of the moment, I was like, my friend, got out the camera. I was like, had a bottle of water in my hand, and I said, say one word. She said, Dubai. I said, bang, I'll do something with Dubai. I used the water bottle, I used Dubai, I used the landline that I had there. I just did it. I thought, oh, that's calm. Like, and at the moment, all I did was like kind of like dancing, because like dance was kind of my first kind of love. That's what I like really enjoy. And then after that video, like usually my dance videos get like 200, 300 likes. Then that video got like 1,000. And I was like, guys, you don't like my dancing? Maybe you like the comedy. And I was like, whoa. And then after that, everyone started making those type of jokes on Twitter about it. Don't leave me, I'm Balenciaga. I was like, maybe let me try another video. And then I just kept on trying, and each one got better reception than the last.
Amazing, thank you. That's great to hear, actually, like how you just started, and here you are now. Well done.
Yeah.
So yeah, I believe we have a show rule for Hugh and Unkle Kwamz that we'd like to show our audience today. So yeah, Hugh is first.
Panic on the streets of London as a giant figure continues to cause destruction, carnage like we've never seen before in the capital city. Madam, what have you seen?
He's just so big and bad.
187. Hello and welcome to Sports Day, and welcome to Anfield on what could well be another very special night. Well, Matt, the sun is shining on St James's Park. Great win against Leicester last time out.
Ritchie, done well. Crosses into back one. The header is brilliant.
Well, Raheem Sterling's words have got me and many others in the sports journalism industry thinking about the current state of play, I guess. And I've called on some of my fellow black sports journalists to examine the state of the industry. I'm outside Jamie Vardy's house, where inside they're having a party. And guess what? It's into its second day. But we love the Six Nations, don't we? And Warren Gatland, it will be his final Six Nations match with Wales next weekend.
Another one. Reggie and Chloe. Let go. Baby, do something. Show them say we big pimpin'. From Ghana to Washington. What are we to do acting? As I do something. Show them say we big pimpin'. From Ghana to Washington.
My friends don't believe anything I say. Why? They call me Simba. Why? Because I'm the Lion King.
One second.
The Lion King.
Fire upon them. We are on them. We are on them. We are on them. We are on them.
Wait. But is that really ice cream though?
Don't be stupid.
Love it. We love it, guys. Thank you. So yeah, start this panel discussion, shall we? So guys, we're talking about the importance of personal branding as a creative today, and our first topic is knowing your market. So I'd like to ask all three of you, how important is it to be in tune with your audience whilst developing yourself as a creative? Let's start with you, Henrie.
I think for me personally, it is very important, especially knowing the market that you're trying to reach if you're not reaching them yet. Because for me, I would love to reach, yes, people my age, but also like the younger generation as well. Yeah, it's definitely important to know because that means you can tailor your content one way or another, know what suits for your chosen that demographic one way or another. And yeah, it's just like tailored content. It just makes so much sense.
Thank you. And how about you, Hugh?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think you need to know what people are into. Obviously, you want to give them what they like, but I think a big thing about, staying fresh in your industry is trying to give them something new as well. And you can only really take them in a new direction unless you know what they're currently into. And that knowledge base, I think, is going to give you a good idea of something different, but what they might like, if you know what I mean. And that's, I guess, your job to sort of take them in a new direction, but knowing that they'll probably enjoy it.
Awesome. Thank you. Angela?
Yeah, really along the same lines. The better you know your audience or your market, the better you can tailor the content to them to make sure that this is what they like. I'm gonna do that. So yeah.
Nice, thank you. Henrie, I would like to ask, for YouTube, TV or radio, social media, we often hear the term quality over quantity. What is to quality content when it comes to creating your own content for your chosen audience?
I think quality content is content that's absolutely true to you, something that you would normally naturally do, something that comes from at least something within, do you know what I mean? Even if you wouldn't naturally do it because maybe at the moment you don't see yourself as a presenter, you aren't going completely outside of yourself. You're not trying to reach for things that aren't there, reach for a funny that doesn't exist. Do you know what I mean? Like try to do more than your actual capabilities, because that's when people will start to clock that, right, this isn't real, neither is it authentic. So that's quality to me, where it's either about something again that you care about, or it's naturally a part of who you are in the first place.
Nice, thank you. And Hugh, when starting out in your field of work, do you focus? Did you focus much on other creatives that were coming up in the industry? And did you think it's important to stay ahead of your competitors to give you an edge?
Not necessarily to stay ahead, but you've definitely got to keep up with what others are doing as well. You want to stay as relevant as you possibly can. You've certainly, and in my experience, you've got to learn from the people that have gone before, learn from what they did good and what they did bad as well. And if you're able to reach out and ask some advice from those people, I think that's massively important as well. But also, I think you definitely need to learn from the people younger than you. You don't know who the next big thing is. You don't know what the next big thing is. But I definitely think you need to, have an understanding of the people who maybe haven't done as much as you have, haven't got the experience that you have, but might come blow by you, and suddenly be the next best thing and leave you in their dust as well. So it's important to know the full spectrum of what you're doing. That means the people that have been great at it, gone on to make a big name for themselves, and also the people coming up.
So would you say that researching is key, like looking back on like what presenters previously have done?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think most people will choose a person that they really, really like and say, especially when it comes to like your presentation style, what are the good things about what they do? Can I replicate them in what I do? What are the bad things? Can I make sure I avoid those? I think you look around to everyone else that's doing what you're doing and you try and sort of measure yourself in the middle. And you're always trying to improve. So you've got to look around.
Thank you. And Unkle Kwamz, your depiction of your character is not only hilarious but relatable. How did you come up with the character, and was it purposeful?
I'd say the character kind of, like I said, I kind of stumbled across it. So I feel like with the character, it's like what Henrie said, that 10% of you that you kind of maximize, because you see that people kind of relate and can connect to that character. So really, it's just something I would do, but I'm like, nah, let me not do that. But it's like, now it's like, maybe if I get out a camera and record it, then people might like it.
So how do you come up with your sketches? Was it like just seeing what people were talking about, or from people's experiences?
The sketches, like I actually like get quite a lot of ideas, even with like the like Don't Leave Me stuff. Like the jokes, a lot of people don't know the jokes took like a good 3-4 minutes to come up with. It was usually like where I'm running, what I'm wearing, which friends are chasing me. That kind of was longer to come up with, and I feel like that's why people connected with it more. I don't know how, but people can see that. They can kind of tell that it's natural for you, which is why it's important that whatever you do, it's coming from within, because otherwise people can clock on very easily if it's something that you're putting on.
Nice, thank you. And how did you go about creating look? Is your look a personal choice, or does it vary from various roles?
Yeah, it varies from like various roles and various characters that I have. So like I kind of play around with it. So like recently I had one with kind of like a fraudster. So I had like a turtleneck and a blazer on, because everyone knows if you have a turtleneck, then you know about like financial stuff. Like it's like 100% sure. And kind of like I play around with different characters depending on what I think like the most extreme version of that would be. So that guy had a suit on. I was like, yeah, get anything for free, use my code THIEF, and people kind of like related to that.
Nice. I like that. Amazing. And Henrie, you always look stylish.
Oh, thank you.
How important is your look? Is it your personal style, or do you have a personal stylist?
I don't have a stylist, unfortunately. But yeah, it is my personal style. I feel like over time, when you're branding yourself, your look is definitely a part of it. Like who you want to be, what you want to look like, and eventually I'll be the babe that wears a dress and heels. But for now, I will be the hun that is in tracksuits probably all the time. I do really like baggy clothes, and I love chains. I like looking gangster because it reminds people where I'm from. Even though when I open my mouth, people don't really, do you know what I mean? Think it, but yeah, when I go to work, whoever I'm presenting for, and I think it kind of helps that I work for a lot of sports brands anyway, so it kind of helps the look. It's kind of what I'm stuck with for now, so yeah.
Nice. And Hugh, how important is styling to you both professionally and personally?
On the radio, it doesn't make a huge difference what you're wearing and how you appear, to be perfectly honest. And obviously, when I was doing a lot of TV stuff, yeah, I mean, I don't know what Henrie thinks about this. You know, there's almost the company sort of tells you how they want you to dress. Particularly for me, as I'm not doing the stuff that's necessarily cultural. Like I'll go to football grounds, for example. You know, it's very much like dress well, wear a nice overcoat. You know, wear something smart. So you rarely get a choice other than, you know, where you want to buy your clothes from. So it hasn't been massively important for me, but it is very important. And of course that boils down to what you're doing. You know, I just think about the genre that you're in, and people should be looking at you and saying, yeah, this person stands for that, you know, and it should really match with the genre that you're in, whatever that might be.
Absolutely. I think that just makes so much sense, because if you look at like every presenter or every person that sees themselves as a brand, they dress according to, do you know what I mean, what they do, and people can see from kind of what they look like, do you know what I mean, the kind of personality you're going to get out from them. Because I'm sure if you turned up one day in a tracksuit, you're not going to think that he's going to do you know what I mean, the kind of job that guy does. So yeah, absolutely, you're right, man.
Thank you, that was a great answer. Thank you, Henrie, as well. So yes, Henrie, you obviously set up your own production company and have a background in creating your own content. Can you tell us how important is it to come up with your own ideas for you to present, whether as a producer or content creator?
I like that you said producer, because I was once a producer actually at the BBC, so thank you. It's super important, oh my gosh, to have your own ideas, to come up with your own things, because again, it's going to sound so cliche, but only you are you, and only you can execute the things in your mind the way that you see it. Do you know what I mean? And so if you give like your baby to somebody else, your thought baby, not your real baby, to someone else, like it's never going to come across in the same way. Do you know what I mean? So even when I used to work at other like broadcasters, I do remember like giving them some ideas that I had for like some particular presenters that they wanted me to to come up with ideas for that person's show and for like their online content, etc., etc. I really went away, studied this presenter, and was like, oh my gosh, this would be so great for them. They can do it, But then whoever was higher than me at the time was like, oh, nah, this isn't gonna work. Like, oh, we don't think that we can like go with this. So I just went ahead and like did it myself, filmed it myself, did everything myself, and that was the first piece of big content I'd ever had in my life. Which was one of the pieces that you showed. It was me versus Hardy Caprio, and that video in itself, I think that was like maybe the third one I'd ever done like that. Was the one that garnered the most attention, like Drake to Stormzy to all these people like commenting. So I think to come up with your own ideas and not just like execute them yourself, because only you can see in your mind's eye how you want it to look is so important, because you would hate for maybe somebody else to take it on and it not look how you want it to look and be like, oh, actually we could have gone there. Regret is a terrible thing, people. So yeah.
And speaking on that, like creating your content, I guess it's also important as like staying relevant to what's happening right here, right now.
Like the whole like relevancy thing, I don't even know, like of course it's important like to stay relevant in every job that we all do, but sometimes like I just forget and I just like live life, do you know what I mean? Like I do what I'm doing. If I'm gonna go and create the content, it'll be because of something maybe funny that I've seen, but I won't be like, will this keep me relevant? Do you know what I mean? But I will just go out and do it. So whatever you do naturally anyway will just keep you relevant in today's age, I hope.
Nice, thank you. So we've all heard the term being in the right place at the right time. Hugh, can you give us some insight into how you went about networking when you first started out in your career? And did networking work for you?
Yeah, I'll come to that in a moment. Can I just respond to what Henrie just had to say? Well, generally around, I think, branding yourself. I think, especially if you're going to go into like the YouTube space, you're going to have a big social media presence, whether that's Twitter or something like Instagram or TikTok. I think in every sort of genre there are like goodies and baddies, basically. That's the way that I sort of describe it. Like there are people that get involved with negative conversations, and there are people that only really get involved in positive stuff. Like people that are their persona online is like always positive, an absolute hype man, always there trying to basically say, you know, this person's whatever, this person's new album's out, everyone check it out, you know, always positive, sending messages to other people in their genre, basically saying like, really like this song, or really like what you did on your latest video on YouTube or whatnot, like constantly positive. And you can build your brand around being like one of the goodies in your genre. Or there's other people who come out and they say negative things, like primarily, like, and it goes all the way to the top. It might be like someone like Piers Morgan, you know what I mean? It goes all the way up to like that level where you go like, he's the guy that's going to say the serious stuff. This person might be the funny one. And I think you need to take that all the way through. And the only thing that I'd say about social media is like, we all use social media and we all want to give our, you know, like I got this pizza delivery and it was cold, you know, like everyone wants to go and spout off to this company or that company or say something about their real life as well, because we're so used to using social media. And I just think if you're going to brand yourself, stay consistent with your message on your social media that you're this person, you know, like, and really think about whether people care about, because basically when you tweet, you're not just tweeting that company. All of your followers are going to see that you've tweeted this company saying, you sent me one size 10 and you sent me one size 9. What's going on, Foot Locker? You know, like, is that the person that you want to be online? Just be consistent with the messages. And I think, especially if you're coming up, try and be a positive person in your genre. Like try and be a goodie basically as you're coming up. Maybe you'll get to a level where you can say negative things and people will still follow you. But I think as you're coming up, if you're one of those people that's more negative to say, I don't like X, Y, and Z, then my personal view is it's going to be tough for you to go there. There are certain areas, maybe some like news and politics, where you can be a constantly negative person and you'll gain notoriety and you'll gain fame. But I think other genres that are meant to be fun, music, sport, comedy, whatever it might be, then be one of those positive people, say positive things to others, interact with your followers positively, try not to get into arguments online, because I think people will go, yeah, he's cool, or yeah, she's cool, you know, and I think that's going to help with your message. What are you saying, Henrie?
I argue with people online, Hugh. But
and so do I. And it's not to say that you should never argue with people online. It's just to say, if you're building a brand, you see what I mean? You know, I think you maybe, Henrie, reach a certain level where you think you can argue with people and it's not going to affect your brand. But before people know who you are, people are going to go and look on your social media and say like, oh, this person's just an angry person. And some people like to follow people like that because they're angry too. But I'm just talking about, think about your genre, innit? I don't know what you think.
But even with that being said, Hugh, like even when you're just starting out, I'm not obviously going to name any names, but there are people where you say the goodies and the baddies. Some of the baddies are still making money. Do you know what I mean? Like, but that's the whole point of branding. Like that, I think what you're saying as well is really important, because that's the whole point of branding. It's whatever you want to be, whatever you see yourself as being. Which is why whenever I give that whole speech of like whatever people see about you, whether you're rude, and I'll make sure I say rude, because some people, you know, when you look at them, all you see is the rudeness. So like whether you are rude, whether you are nice, whether you're funny, whether you're goofy, it is literally about being that, because you can genuinely take that rudeness and let that be who you are, and people will know you for being a rude person, and you can get paid to be rude. Like it's facts, do you know what I mean? But that's the whole point of branding. So it is a spectrum, shall we say.
Thank you both.
I think you asked me about networking, didn't you?
Yeah, sorry.
No worries.
Sorry.
What done to this?
We love it. We love the gems, but yes.
Look, networking is massively important. I think younger people maybe don't get exactly how important it is. You know, the vast majority of sort of work that you get into, people that you meet, you know, it's a long chain of going to events, meeting the right people, them getting to know you, them getting to trust you, them listening to your ideas because they've met you, they trust you, and then you maybe getting your work commissioned, put on screen, getting sponsors, for example. It's a massively important thing, particularly in media, maybe in other sectors as well. I got my first opportunity, thankfully, through BComs. I know you mentioned it at the top, which is the Black Collective of Media in Sport. Now I sit on the board, but when I was in uni, I just went to a talk. Someone said to me, go to a talk. This is just like a lot of Black people who are in the sports media industry. Maybe someone will, you know, have an opportunity for you. And thankfully, you know, it changed my life. I literally sat next to someone who said, I'm making a documentary for the BBC. I need someone to do work experience. Can you just send me, I'm going to email you. Can you send me some questions back? I did that. And then he basically said, yeah, I like what you had to say. All the questions were about football and the England football team. But they were like, I thought you were really knowledgeable. I need some help making this documentary. I went to help him make that documentary. At the end of it, he said, I think you were really good. So I'm going to recommend you to the BBC directly, because he worked for his own private production company that was making something for the BBC. And I managed to get myself an interview for the BBC. I didn't even get the job, but they gave me like a 1 day a week contract. And then a year later, pretty much, I managed to get a full-time job. So networking basically changed my life. Without it, I don't know what I'd be doing right now. So yeah, it's important. It's very important.
Would you say like face-to-face, like in person is good as well as online networking? Obviously, face-to-face we can't because the climate we're in.
Yeah.
But just imagine. I think, do you think it's important to do both? Like going to an event as well as obviously reaching out to people online?
Definitely do both. Yeah, 100% do both. Because some of the communities that you're in are predominantly based online, and ultimately we don't know when we're going to be at massive events in person anytime soon anyway. So I think it's something that you can do more easily. Obviously, you can speak to 100 people in a day all over the world, you know, online. That's not something that you're going to be able to do necessarily in person. So certainly if you've got that ability to do that, then you should use it.
Cool, thank you. And speaking of like, obviously when you get your foot in the door, so gaining traction in your career, how easy is it to go about getting an agent? Yeah, sorry.
I don't know about easy, but it's a big decision, obviously. My main advice is obviously try and find someone that you really trust. If you don't know what an agent does, I mean, they're going to have the ability to get you work or not get you work. They're going to charge you for that. So they're going to take money from you. So you're going to pay them. My agent like speaks to my accountant about the money that's coming in, about when my tax goes out. They sort out my diary for me. Like they do a lot basically so that I can just focus on the work that I've got to do and traveling around and stuff like that. So certainly I need to trust them. But also they need to have like a really good relationship with the industry and sector that you're in. They need to be able to bring opportunities to you as well. So it's difficult because obviously a lot of the best agents are signed up with some of the bigger names and that's what they're looking for. I wouldn't advise anyone to get an agent until they get to a certain level anyway, because I think until that point in time, you should be pushing yourself. You should be making those phone calls. You should be going to speak to all these different companies yourself to show how much you want to be in that sector. It's only when really you're at a certain level, when you can't manage to do all of those things and your workload as well, that you might need an agent. So yeah, it's a difficult decision, but it's not something for early on in your career. I didn't get an agent till I left the BBC, which was over 10 years after I started out.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. That's really great. And I'm sure our audience are taking it all in. So yeah, thank you. And Henrie, our next topic is professional expectations. For those who already are broadcast on YouTube, radio, or even creating content of their own, could you give us some insight into what the differences were when working on your own and being employed by a company?
The differences to working on my own and being employed by a company was, number one, don't know when I'm going to get paid. Working on my own isn't that easy just because of that. You have to settle your own invoices. You have to really chase people yourself. I wouldn't say I've threatened people because then they take me to prison. But genuinely, you really do have to go out there and do it yourself. You have to do the hard work yourself. But when you're employed by a company, you cannot even have your KPIs, so goals that are set for you to reach by the end of the week, by the end of the month, by the end of the year. But when you're working by yourself, you really have to do all of that by yourself. With a job, you really have to get up in the morning, set an alarm and be oh yeah, I have to go to work, so I'm going to get up, shower. When you're working for yourself, maybe some days I won't shower. Do you know what I mean? I'm joking, I shower all the time. But but as in that laziness would definitely creep in. Do you know what I mean? If you don't keep yourself motivated, then you would never, you won't do work that day. You won't do anything that day. So, and also as working as part of a team, you're not alone. So your mind, sorry guys, it's been a long day for me. You're not on your own, so you've got a lot of people adding to the creative bucket. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But when I'm working by myself, fam, it's just me sat there, maybe staring at the ceiling for an hour, saying, "Ideas, bro, just come to me," because I've got nothing. So that's the biggest difference, and I see that most when I'm working by myself and I'm working with HTK Production, the team that I currently have, who are incredible because with them I had the idea for the project that I'm working on now. And I was just to them, all right, guys, I've got the bones of this, but I literally don't have the brain capacity to think of anything more. So you guys, do you know what I mean? Come up with more things. And that's the difference between working by yourself and with a group. Is your area changing? Was me from top to bottom. But the new project that I'm about to do is a group effort. And so it's kind of made life a lot easier.
Nice, thank you. And I totally hear that, literally when being in the room with people, do you feel pressured with your ideas, or you just because obviously you said that you had to think of an idea at the spot?
Not anymore. It's actually a lot easier. I haven't been doing this for as long as even Hugh is incredible, by the way. But only being and doing this, I guess, for a short amount of time, I'm a lot more confident than I was when I first started. But I will say that when I first started, it was really nerve-wracking to be able to say my ideas in front of anybody because I thought that they probably think it was rubbish. So, yeah.
I don't think I did.
No, they weren't, to be fair. But you know what I mean? It's you thinking, oh my gosh, what are they going to think about it? What? So it kind of stopped me from maybe doing it sometimes, which I regret.
Thank you. And Unkle Kwamz, your comedy sketches and dance videos have gone viral across the world. Can you tell us how instrumental social media has been in the development of your creative career?
Social media has basically been a godsend for me. I feel if you can, my way was kind of unnaturally freakishly big, but the formula is still kind of the same in terms of you find what people like, and then you continue to experiment and play with it and see okay, they like this, maybe they'll like this more, and then sometimes you put forward an idea, they don't really like it, you go back to the drawing board and you see how else can I work with that, if that makes sense. But you just have to be careful that in terms of supply and demand, that you don't overextend yourself and start giving parts of yourself that's not really you, because then after a while you're not going to be able to maintain that. So then if, let's say, a company comes to you looking for you to do something you did in that video and you're that's not really me, then it's kind of you've now started sending mixed messages, and when people are not sure who you are, they can't really connect to you. Because for example, for me, I do dancing and comedy, which is two completely different things. At first I was thinking, maybe I should do like separate pages. But then I was like, there's people like Chunks out there and Philly that they can still make music and still be doing comedy. So I feel like people, rather than being seen as like a comedian or like a dancer, I'm just Kwame and I can dance and sometimes I'm funny. And I feel like it's a better way to put yourself out there like that because people can relate to you instead.
Thank you. And, obviously you mentioned how you often had to go back to the drawing board. So how do you deal with like, not rejection, but when people said, okay, cool, we want this idea, not the one that you're providing?
I find it fun. I feel like, yeah, sometimes social media is like too extremist. Like it's either, oh my God, this idea is amazing. Like, wow, Kwame, how did you do that? And I'm like, like obviously, it's funny and that. And then sometimes it'll be like, this idea is terrible, 10 likes on the video. And I'll be like, where did I go wrong? But I like the ones where it's like, people come, the negative ones are more like, okay, now it's something like, I can actually work with this. What did people like about this? What didn't they like? Now it's like, it's a challenge for me. It's like, oh, you didn't like that? Okay, watch. Next month, I'm coming with something else with that character and you'll prefer it, if that makes sense. So.
Thank you. And now touching on wellness, the recent Looking Glass survey conducted by the film and TV charity found that almost 90% of people who work in the film and TV industry had at some point in their career suffered from mental health issues as a result of their working environment, and anxiety came out as the number one mental health issue amongst creatives. Hugh, I would like to ask you, what do you think needs to be implemented to help combat these statistics, especially for BAME creatives?
It's a tough one because there are creatives who are working in organizations, like Henrie pointed out before, and it's a different kettle of fish when you're out on your own. You haven't got people around you to ask you how you are. You haven't got all those sort of little HR details. If you want to speak to a counsellor, just let us know. We'll try and sort it out. Like, you haven't got that level of support when you work on your own. And I think when you're on your own as well, same as all of us, like, you go into a bit of a different world as well. You might get sucked into the social media, into the comments, and they might affect you totally differently. I do think organizations, firstly, like, they definitely need to provide that support and ask people how they're doing. I remember when I started out, I'm in a entry level job basically, but because I was making documentaries, it was on my mind constantly, like, what new ideas can I have? Any bit of news that came out, how can we make a program to reflect this? Or which guest can we get? It was really like, it became to the point where it was like dominating my thoughts, which is my job. And you're not going to have all your ideas while you're at work and people are paying you to come up with ideas, but it was very overwhelming. And then of course you get the anxiety and the worries off the back. You go to work, you tell your boss, you want to make X, Y, and Z. These are my ideas. And they're like, nah. In fact, my boss at the time was just like, I don't know if I can use bad language, but he was like, these are, So I was like, okay, back to the drawing board type stuff. But then you start worrying about you're going to lose your job, and it spirals from there. And I can definitely say that I've had difficulties with the level of anxiety over how people see you. If you're in the public eye, people are going to judge you. People are always going to say negative things. You can't please everybody, and dealing with that is difficult. It is difficult. So I can't really tell the industry what to do, because I know they're not going to invest the money that it would take to make sure everyone's okay. I can only maybe give advice onto how to help people cope, if that's what you need.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's important. So do you think it's like on us to take care instead of having people to rely
It's important to have these conversations. I think it's important, and it's happening more and more, that people that are in the public eye are actually talking about like the realities of it. Everything that glitters isn't gold. You see people who have money, or you see people who are well known, and you think they're having a great time. Their life's amazing. I want my life to be like theirs. And, humans are humans. Doesn't matter how much money they've got in the bank. Doesn't matter how many people know who you are. And insults hurt. When your work doesn't go well, it hurts your feelings, and you're managing your mindset it's just incredibly difficult. I've advised colleagues and people that I've worked with in the past who are probably more famous than me, put your phone down for a week or a few days, take some time away from it, go and see your friends, go and see your family, like remind yourself of the things that are important to you, the people that are going to be with you no matter what, because the people who are sending you messages online, they don't know you, and they think that their words won't hurt you because they see some sort of superhero type figure on a screen, someone that they think their words probably will never even reach your eyes. And in reality, they will, and they will hurt, so.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think that's really useful for our audience. And Henrie, I would like to ask, what types of self-care do you take on to manage your work schedule?
So, Hugh, I'm really sorry to say, at the moment, my self-care regime is terrible. But it's kind of exactly like what Hugh was saying. Like, you might think, oh yeah, like I really want to be like this person. I really want to do this, but I've got makeup covering my face because I haven't slept properly in 2 days because I am working so much and I'm working every day and I don't stop. And exactly like you said, because I am by myself and I don't work for a corporation, I work for myself, it means that I now say when I stop working. But again, just like Hugh says, the anxiety, I mean, I don't have actual anxiety, but I do have it on my mind that, it feels like if I stop working, that means maybe for that month, I might not pay rent, or do you know what I mean? Like that always comes in every single time. Like, well, if you miss that, somebody else is going to get that job and you could have just missed a bag. Do you know what I mean? That could have paid for this, that could have paid for that. And when you don't actually have a 9 to 5 that you can wake up to, or you don't have a steady job sitting there, that could seem like the biggest thing in the world. Or if you're only on a contracted job, which is what all of my jobs are at the moment, so everything is moving parts, guys. It could really mean that anything can drop at any time. Like, for example, like my contract with Spotify is yearly. So that means like after the year is up, if they decide to no longer do Spotify anymore, I'm Henrie that no longer does Spotify anymore. So like that's how like life kind of moves. But what I will say, like I said before, is that I will actually try to implement some well-being things into my life where I don't do as much, or where I do go on holiday, which I do really want to do. But just to let everybody know that the life isn't all glitz and glam. I know that I smile all the time, but that's just how I was born. Do you know what I mean? I didn't I wasn't born crying. I was smiling out the window. Ready. But that is just who I am. So I'm just a smiley babe, but trust me, it gets on top. Do you know what I mean? This makeup has been on my face for 10 hours. So it definitely gets on top. So yeah, it's just real.
No, amazing. I think that's really relatable for everyone listening. And on Unkle Kwamz, how have you managed to stay motivated to create content during the lockdown period?
I feel like creating content has almost been kind of a release because I'm also like a uni student. So like at first, until it kind of became more serious, the creating content was kind of like an outlet where I could like show my creative side, because I'm academic, but I'm still like creative. And sometimes people feel like you can't really have one or the other. So I feel like with the creating content is an outlet, and then also having kind of the right people around you, so that when he was talking about like the feedback people give you and stuff, to make sure that whatever people say is not like affecting you as much, because it's like everybody's toothpaste. Now what I mean by that is like when you're under pressure, whatever's inside you comes out. So like if you make sure that you've got the right people around you, I'm Christian, so like I've got God, I've got people that are like stable with me. Like if I have that all the time, then I'm looking for validation from people or from God that never changes because he's stable. But if you look for validation from the views or the likes or from people outside, like it can bring you enjoyment, but it shouldn't bring you joy, if that makes sense.
And now, obviously, you spoke about uni. So how have you like balanced that? And then, with creating content, do you feel like, I haven't created content in a while, and you're just like, I need to focus on my studies? Like, how do you manage that?
That's a question I ask myself as well. To be honest, I feel like when people say like they balance things, I'm not someone that balances it like everything is here at the same time. I'm like, okay. Finally, uni's comedy. Okay, finally. Oh wait, dance. It's like I'm like going around trying to sort out everything at once. But I look, kind of enjoy that. It keeps me busy. But I think sooner or later I'll find like a more effective way to do it. But because I'm like quite early in my journey compared to Henrie and Hugh, it's like for me, I'm just like starting out. So I'm working out what best works for me, because I've got like one more year after this for university, and then like I'm done. So I'm not sure if it's going to get easier then or harder. But
And what do you study?
Pharmacy.
Okay. How's that going? What year?
Third year, but it's like it's a 4 year course, 4 year course. It's one of those questions like those aunties at church ask you like, "How's the uni going?" And you just
nods.
You just say, because if you now say no,
that's it.
You're gonna get a whole interview, Sky News, panoramic of why is it not going well? Have you eaten rice? Blah blah. It's just you're surviving on Indomie for breakfast.
Amazing, thank you. And a question for all of you three: what advice would you give to anyone wanting to pursue a career in the creative industry? Henrie?
What advice? Don't do anything that you don't want to do. Don't feel like you have to do things just because other people are doing it. Don't look at anybody else's journey because it's going to make you feel some type of way about yourself and maybe some type of way about them as well, which isn't that cute. I think that you should find out what makes you you, what your unique selling point is. You should know the kind of people who you'd like to reach, which are probably going to be people like yourself, to be honest, because that's kind of how you make friends. You say a joke, somebody laughs, and suddenly you're best friends. Or at least that's how I make friends. And what else? Yeah, kind of know what you stand for as well. I think that sometimes like it's really easy to be the person that's like maybe in the limelight, but what do you actually stand for? And that's like a personal one to me. If you want, don't stand for anything. But I do feel like standing for something, especially in this day and age, is quite important.
Nice, thank you. And how about you, Hugh?
I think I'd say firstly, ideas is basically the currency in the creative industry. So make sure you're giving yourself some time to sit down and come up with ideas, whatever your process is. You know, some people want to go for a walk, some people just ring their mates, you know, some people just have a chat and then say, do you know what, that's funny, we should make a video about that, or we should talk about that on a podcast. Or, you know, I think there's a lot of ideas that come from real life that people miss as well. I know I say sit down and come up with ideas, that's one part of it, but if there's something that happens in your life and you and all your friends are in tears and laughter on the floor, there's a good chance that other people will find it funny as well. So see, if you're a creative, see what you can do with those ideas. Reflect your community and the people that are close to home as well. You know, people who have friends who are doing great things, you know, maybe those are the people to speak to to make your content with. Don't forget that there are people, you know, in your lives already who are interesting, who have amazing stories. So don't be missing out on them as well. And the last thing is to make it your like healthy obsession. So I think that the people that do really well, they're very, very committed. And it's, you know, Henrie's in front of you right now, Kwamz is in front of you right now. You know, these are committed people to what they do. And there's no secret there. If you're committed and you put the work in, it's, you know, you're going to go further.
Thank you. I think that's really a great answer. So yes, amazing. So yes, thank you everyone for taking part in this panel discussion and sharing all your gems with us today. We will now be taking questions from our audience on Zoom and Instagram Live. So yes, there's time for everyone in the chat room. I can see everybody. Make sure you like type your answers, your questions. We want to hear from you. I think we have a question from Zola as well. Would you like to unmute yourself? Yeah.
So do any of you got opportunity for any of us or what?
You this guy.
What's your question?
I'm just saying, if you guys, I mean, we spoke about before about, you know, connections and, you know, so I'm just saying, if you guys know any opportunities or got any, you know, connections, it's all about what's the word used? Forgot now. But you know, yeah, connections, you know.
So unfortunately, my window for taking new people on has actually closed for HTK Productions. There was a time where I was saying, yep, I need to employ people. I need people for so and so and so and so. But at the moment, I don't have anything.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Hugh? Are there any opportunities that you can share?
I'm unfortunately not an employer. very much someone seeking employment as well. So Zola, if you've got any opportunities for me, holler at your boy. But you know, you're doing the right thing in terms of networking, but the networking needs to happen off Zoom. So follow us on social media, drop us a message, tell us what you're good at, and you never know.
What do you do? What do you do?
I produce and I rap.
And you, sorry?
I produce, like I'm a music producer, and I rap.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. So that means if you're a music producer, you need to be getting in touch with artists. None of us can rap or sing here, so.
But you might know.
Sorry, I'm sorry. But no, but in all seriousness, like I basically work as part of the music industry adjacent. Do you know what I mean? I try not to get too involved in it or else it will take over. But you need to actually get involved with people who are artists, with other producers, because I know that when it comes to producing a song, it's not only just one producer sometimes. You've got someone who's like mixed and mastered it. You've got somebody that's added like a little key and that person will still get put on the credits. So you need to actually link up with other producers, artists that are literally starting out the exact same way as you, or maybe if you're already flying high, someone that's exactly in the same caliber as you, and that is a really good way to, I guess, start networking by linking up with your peers.
All right, thank you for that. I just had to try anyways, but thank you for that.
No problem.
And Zola, you can tune in next week for our music production class with Deanie Boy as well. He's producer. So make sure to tune in next week, yeah?
Yep.
Alright. Cool. And I think we have a question on Zoom, I think to you, Henrie. You started your own production company, and I would like to know how you source work for the company and how you navigate between businesses and your personal work.
Sorry, I'm laughing at every question because I'm like, how do I even do it? I do not know. HTK Productions, how do I garner work for it? Was it?
She would like, I would like to know how you source work for the company.
Source work, okay, cool. So I already had ideas, like Hugh said, ideas are your currency. So I already had ideas that I wanted to kind of do, and if it wasn't for Converse and Days, then I would have gone out and done it already. It's just that I was nominated somehow for the Days 100, and then I won that, and I won money to go with it, and then Converse got involved as well. So that was like a whole thing. However, if it wasn't for them, then I would have found means to do it anyway. Do you know what I mean? I would have just gone out and just did it. So there's that. Like any idea that you have, then you try your best to go out and make it happen. As you see with Is Your Area Changing, it's not like the best camera work in the world, but it's the one that we have, and it's the one that we worked with. Do you know what I mean? To put across a good story, and I know that other people liked it because of, I don't know, I guess the views that it's got and the people that have spoken about it. So God is good for that. And what was the rest of the question? Sorry.
And how do you navigate between business and your personal work?
How do I navigate between business and my personal work? All right, cool. So I'm going to say that I'm going to talk about how I navigate between my businesses, because I do loads of different things. Mm-hmm. And that's actually really important, kind of putting my maybe producer brain to sleep for my presenter brain to wake up. That is super important. So if you know you want to be someone that's, I guess, more than just a presenter, so you want to work in a record label, and you also want to be a presenter, or you want to be a DJ and presenter, that is actually not that easy to navigate, even though they're all part of the same entertainment sphere. Putting one side of your brain to sleep to wake another side up actually isn't that possible, because as you probably would have seen me on my phone now, because no signal are saying, oh, who's presenting tonight, and it's not me because I'm here. So do you know what I mean? A lot of things happen at one time, but you kind of have to prepare for that. That's kind of what I wanted for my life. I did see myself not just doing one thing, doing more than one thing. So if that's kind of what I wanted for myself, then you have to mentally prepare to kind of be thrust into work at all hours of the day, apparently. So yeah.
Thank you for your advice. And I think we have Anita who's going to go live as well.
Yeah, hello. I'm a video editor, and I've been doing it for the last year. Recently, I'm also disabled, and I've done a lot of work with charities and small businesses. But how do I start branding myself as a freelancer video editor in terms of what I've done so far?
And is your question to Henrie?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Hi. I think Hugh would be incredible to answer that one as well. But for me, when it came to branding myself as someone, as a freelancer, I took away the word inspirational from all of my bios, and I said that that's exactly who I am. So I'm no longer an aspiring presenter or aspiring DJ. I am a presenter and I am a DJ because this is how I want to make my money. This is how I want to start. I kind of did exactly what you're doing now, which is working with loads of different people in loads of different spaces. I've done so much work experience and so many internships just to be able to get my my experience up and kind of like, yeah, what I want to do. And then that kind of puts me out there as already a freelancer because work experience and internships aren't long jobs that you're there for 3-4 years. You're literally only there for a week or a month or a year, depending. And that's kind of how like freelance work kind of starts. Do you know what I mean? You're there for a short period of time and it's a quick turnover. So yeah, I think that you're on the correct path already. I think maybe just keep going. And for the fact that you've already gone from different businesses to different charities means that you already are a freelancer, my love. You're already doing it.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, I don't know what your level of experience is. I know you said you were doing it for a year or so.
Yeah.
If I don't know if that's your job at the moment and you want to go freelance, or you've been freelance for a year
I
already.
know I've been a freelancer for a year, working with small charities, but it's just in terms of keep pushing myself up, because so far I'm getting paid small income of 30 years 60, and so I just want to know, how do I continue to work up and make sure that I'm connecting with different people here and there.
Firstly, I'd say that I've seen coming past us at BComs in particular, check us out if you can, loads of digital editor jobs, loads of video editor jobs, loads of social media creative jobs at the moment. So clearly that's a popular thing for organizations if you wanted to go into a full-time job. And in terms of branding yourself in that freelance world, get on LinkedIn, where whether we like it or not, some of these organizations, that's where they're looking for people. Particularly when it comes to designers, graphics, pictures and stuff like that. You know, people work on making their LinkedIn look really good. The other thing I'd advise you to do is, like, if you have time, put your videos and constantly refresh your threads with some of the work that you've done and your details again. So like it's popping up on people's social media that follow you, or people that you've worked with before. And then of course, make sure you're following all those relevant people in your sector as well. See if they'll follow you back, show them examples of your work, try and make those connections, and then hopefully it goes from there.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Nita.
Thanks.
Right, and a question for you, Kwame. Let me get the question. Yes, we have a question. What advice would you give to upcoming creatives?
Make sure that when you get ideas, you write them down. Because before, I was never the type to write down ideas. I'll just get an idea, be like, oh, that's funny, carry on with my day. But make sure that you write it down, because sometimes you don't know what to do with the idea then, but if you come back to it later in a different mind state, you'll be able to develop it into something. And sometimes there's videos where usually I'll have a day, I'm going to record a video. I won't know what idea I'm going to do. I'll look through and I'll be like, wait, I could do something with that idea that I haven't touched for maybe 2 months, and then I'll make a video out of it. So one key word of advice I'd give is always write down your ideas, no matter how small or insignificant they seem, because you don't know when you could come back to it later and make it into something much bigger.
Amazing, thank you.
Those of us that used to going out a lot as well, you just wake up on a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning and your phone's just full of gobbledygook ideas you came up with when you were out with your friends the night before. Trying to piece them together is part of it as well.
Thank you. But I definitely hear that. Definitely write down, because you never know when that idea might be useful now.
Yeah.
So yeah, amazing.
A drunken night is how is your every change.
Oh my gosh, amazing. Well, I believe that's a wrap. Thank you again, Henrie, Hugh, and Unkle Kwamz for sharing such amazing wisdom and knowledge with us tonight. And thank you everyone for joining us via Zoom and Instagram Live. We hope you enjoyed this session. Be sure to join us next Monday, the 1st of March at 12 p.m. for a music production workshop with Deanie Boy, hosted by Sharon Fairweather. I've been your host, Kate Fullerton, here at Renaissance Studios. Bye for now.